Welcome to BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Good evening, folks. Just all kinds of bugs in this software, all kinds of gremlins. But it is a dreary day, a dreary North Dakota day today. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Um, see, we already have some folks tuning in. So today, I got a pretty good show for you today. I'm going to start it here, though. It's Memorial Day weekend. So what I what I like to do on Memorial Day weekend, especially with my son, like we want to have fun and all of that. That goes with the territory. But I tell him, a little bit about what Memorial Day means to me and should mean to him as an American boy, a North Dakota American boy. So what what it means to me is it's not just another long weekend, for lake cabins and catfishing, walleye fishing, firing up the grill, that sort of thing. Even though right now you couldn't fire up the grill if you wanted to because it's raining, but to me it's a sacred reminder that the peace that we enjoy on wherever you live, wherever you're at right now listening to this podcast, was bought with blood by young men and women from places like Minot and Fargo and Enderlin and Bismarck and Catahoula Parish, Louisiana, Jonesville, Louisiana, Mississippi, Natchez, Mississippi, just places that you probably never even heard of. Small town folks, a lot of them. I mean, I think about the North Dakota boys who left, this frozen tundra for the beaches of Normandy. The Louisiana boys, who left the swamp for the hills in Korea. I think about all the Mississippi boys that, traded that Mississippi bottomland for, the sands in Iraq and Afghanistan. Kids from farming families and oil patch towns who answered the call so we could raise our own in freedom under God and not under some tyrant's boot. And they didn't die for perfect government. They died for the crazy American idea that liberty comes from our Creator and defended it on the battlefields far from home. So while we gather with family and watch the flag snap in that Dakota wind and honor the fallen at local ceremonies, I make sure that Eli understands and make sure that your kids understand that those names on those monuments and in our churches, that's not just history. That's the receipt for everything that we have here. So this weekend, thank God for them. Pray for the Gold Star families still carrying the weight and recommit to living worthy of their sacrifice. Because if we forget in the heartland all their sacrifice, it kind of all loses meaning. That's what Memorial Day or Memorial Day weekend means to me. We have to remember the sacrifice of all those fine men and women in the military that helped us get to where we are. All right. And with that, I'm going to hit a quick commercial and then we'll get right back with the show.
I am Leon Francis, host of BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Did you ever wonder why people run for public office? I didn't plan on running for Congress, but I got tired of watching politicians go to Washington, promising North Dakotans the world, and delivering leftovers. I'm Alex Balaz, and I'm running to be your U.S. House Representative.
LAUER Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at LAUER Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with LAUER, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro-Second Amendment, America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake.
Make no mistake.
LAUER Auto is your pro-Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at LAUER Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro-Second Amendment, pro-North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's LAUER Auto Repair, 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Come on, no.
Okay, let's go.
I am Leon Francis of BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Hey, Dan, Ravisic. I can't pronounce that name. I'm sorry. There are people chiming in. So I, as a curious aside, some folks were, sending me things on the what is it? The $1.776 billion fund that Donald Trump is trying to get implemented in order to pay out people who have been negatively affected by the DOJ. Like, it's the Biden DOJ, like we all know, went hard after folks for basically opposing them. The same thing that we talked about earlier, not living under the tyrant's boot, that whole thing. So on my social media, I put a quick question out there. Do you agree with the anti-weaponization fund? Yes or no, and why? And I got a ton of response from that, and I'm glad that I did. One in particular I want to mention here, Corey Clark said he's not in favor of it. Sometimes the price of being a patriot is facing the law of consequences, just like George Washington would have faced trial for treason against the King of England had they lost the Revolutionary War. We can't use the law to compensate patriots in this way. Sorry, I am an absolutist. This would set a very dangerous precedent, and I get that. I get that, and I understand that point of view. And I told him that. I said, "Dude, I understand that point of view, but in my humble opinion, we in this country, our Constitution guarantees us a right to redress of grievances." So that's where I'm at. I mean, after years of watching the Biden DOJ just ruthlessly weaponize the justice system, and not just against normal folks, anybody loosely associated with Donald Trump. Like, it didn't matter who you were, what you were doing. They ruthlessly went after you, and it was lawfare, weaponized by the Biden DOJ, and it bankrupted folks. It put people in jail. Like, in my humble opinion, it's long overdue. It's not just justified; it's long overdue. And I like the fact that he called it the 1776 So it's 1,776 fund, and it offers a pathway to compensate Americans who were targeted, who were bankrupted, who were imprisoned, and it's all just for their politics. Take Pat Stedman, and I'm going to read his testimony here in a minute. He entered the Capitol, and it was open. Like, he didn't break any windows to get in there. He goes in there. He witnesses the tragic events around Ashley Babbitt's shooting. He was arrested on Biden's inauguration day. He faced a felony trial. He received a 4-year sentence. He racked up over $300,000 in legal bills before receiving a pardon. His life was completely turned upside down. And then you remember folks like Ashley Babbitt, and she was an unarmed Air Force veteran, shot and killed by Capitol Police while climbing through a window that she didn't break. Roseanne Boylan, another woman, tragically died. Oh, and Ashley Babbitt's family did take the government to court, and I believe that they won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, wrongful death lawsuit, and I think that that's great. I mean, I don't even have words. I remember being so upset because there were conservative, well, not conservative in my humble opinion, but there were Republicans that said her death was justified. And I want you to think about that. You had Republicans saying that the death of George Floyd was not, was police abuse of power. And then you look at what that guy did, and you look at what Ashley Babbitt did. I don't see the parallel. I just don't. I'm sorry. Roseanne Boylan, another woman, tragically died that day in the chaos out there. These were real human losses. Yet the narrative was painted like every participant there was a violent insurrectionist. We heard that ad nauseum. Insurrection, the most violent insurrection in American history. And you're like, come on now. Think about Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman. No violence, no property damage, sentenced to 41 months at federal prison. So walking through the building and grabbing that podium. And then there are hundreds, thousands charged with minor misdemeanors like parading in the Capitol. People like Sean Corden and Daniel Doyle, who briefly entered, caused no harm, yet endured prosecutions that drained their savings, destroyed their reputations, and left their families in ruin. Like, it wasn't justice, in my humble opinion. It was selective lawfare. The same DOJ that slow walked the Hunter Biden investigation. And think about this. Think about it. Think about the harm caused by Hunter Biden. The actual real world harm that dude caused. I mean, he's out there snorting coke off of children, and just if you saw the pictures and the videos from that laptop, and so for them to downplay that, the same DOJ, but they go full force for grandma out in Idaho. They went all the way to Alaska to pick up a grandma who was there protesting on that day. I mean, and again, compare that to the 2020 George Floyd protest. Cities handed out massive settlements. New York paid over $13 million to I think it was like 1,300 arrested demonstrators. Philadelphia, $9.25 million. Denver, over $18 million. with the complete national total surpassed $80 million, while those protests caused $2 billion plus in damages and burned police precincts, resulted in 19 deaths, 14,000 arrests. But the Democrats had private bail funds that they raised to get these people out. $100 million in private bail funds. Yet for the January 6th defendants, many faced years in prison for far less. And you think about that. And now Trump wants this fund to help make these people whole, and now it's suddenly a slush fund. Think about that. In my humble opinion, using the judgment fund to right these government wrongs is exactly how accountability works. I mean, these aren't rewards for violence. There are restitution for a vindictive, two-tiered prosecution. When the government abuses its power, victims deserve compensation. Should put that money towards civics and constitutional classes, along with gun and rifle training in schools. All right, I can see that. Marxist movement set out to destroy our history, culture, and religion, basically make it bizarro world. Exactly, where everything gets flipped on its head, then the people beg for government. Again, agree. I think that this fund is not going to erase what happened, the damage, especially the psychological damage, the damage to the national pride, the damage to our respect to the institution. Like the one thing that the Biden administration did was completely destroy any fabric of credibility that our institutions had at one point. And I said that on the Due North Political Podcast with Perry Schumacher a couple of episodes back. But I think that this fund, it's not going to like erase the damage or anything, but it sends a message. Weaponizing federal agencies against citizens is not going to be a consequence-free thing anymore. When you do it, there is a very good chance that you're going to be penalized and that those people will be made whole. It's about restoring basic fairness after what we witnessed from 2021 to 2025, in my humble opinion. And I am going to here. I'm gonna read a bit of Pat Stedman. So this is his testimony from January 6th here. On January 6th, I followed the crowd into the Capitol and shouted. Police stood by the whole time, hanging out with us and sometimes directing us places. At one point, near the House chambers, I was walking downstairs when a trio of some special section Secret Service looking men started pointing guns in my direction. Confused and annoyed, I walked the other way, and when I saw a normal police officer, I asked him why they were doing that, and he informed me that a protester, Ashley Babbitt, had been killed and advised me to leave the building. I walked toward the exit, and after a short rest on the bench, I left. I harmed nobody and damaged no property that day and complied with all police orders. What I received for that was a pre-dawn raid at my parents' house where my 1-month postpartum wife and I were staying. On Biden's first day in office, his DOJ signed the order to arrest me 3 hours after his inauguration. In the subsequent weeks, I received death threats, online and harassing phone calls, something that would be ongoing for the next few years. I was banned from Meta and PayPal. my wife and I were both debanked by PNC and banned from Airbnb. My wife was detained at the airport for hours with our newborn daughter. I was charged with 4 misdemeanors and the 1512 unconstitutional felony. The government offered to drop the misdemeanors if I pled to the felony. The felony was a lie. So I refused and I went to trial. Now, and listen at this part here. At trial, the prosecution for 2 days straight was allowed to show footage to the jury of things that occurred around the Capitol I wasn't present for. For context, they said. When we asked to put forward footage that contradicted the prosecution's context, and that's something we don't talk about a lot, we were not allowed. They could show what they wanted, and we could not. Police officers were then put on the stand for the next 2 days who cried about their experiences. I had no idea who they were. They admitted they never saw me or interacted with me. Nevertheless, like every other January 6er, I lost and was sentenced to 4 years, $22,000 in fines and restitution. Yet, even after the Supreme Court overturned the felony, the judge would not let me out until my misdemeanor sentences of a year were maxed out. Because she can't count, she actually kept me longer, to the extent that she had to intervene at the last minute to make the prison release me on a Sunday, something that is against BOP rules. My family sat outside the prison gates the Friday before, practically the entire day, waiting in vain because of this pettiness. But the government wasn't finished with their pound of flesh. After my release, they took me back in for resentencing to attempt to have me re-sentenced after the fact to my misdemeanors consecutively. So I'd be taken from my family again and have another 1.5 years behind bars. This time I won, as they had no legal precedent to do this, and it skirted on violating double jeopardy since I had served my full prison time. Even still, this cast a cloud over the holidays and cost me another $20K my family couldn't afford. People ask whether prison was bad. And yeah, of course, prison sucked. It was hard and it was violent. And I was present for a stabbing and was lucky to avoid 2 fights and a race war. But dealing with the Biden DOJ and the DC judiciary was the real trauma. They would grind down your spirit by weaponizing the legal system and use endless procedure to bankrupt you. I had nightmares for months after release that I had somehow been hit with new charges. By the time I was pardoned by President Trump, I had spent literally every single day of Biden's presidency either in prison or under some form of supervision. I had incurred over $300,000 in legal fees and over $1 million in lost business. It was a reign of terror, and yet it was a mere foreshadowing of what they had planned for anyone else who opposed them under Kamala. The country should never forget this. I wanted to read that because I know people. I know kids who turned 18 under the Biden administration who were hauled in front of the FBI. And we know that the process is the punishment. Like he said, and so many J6ers said, like if they would just plead guilty, they could go about their lives. They can't like get on an airplane. They'll have a marshal following them around and all of that stuff. But if you didn't plead guilty and you actually went to trial, it was a sham trial because you were not allowed to produce evidence that would, be to your benefit. And they could produce all sorts of evidence that wasn't even really evidence. Like, we saw it splashed across our screens nightly. Every night there was like, and then you had those officers that were like crying and basically theater every day for almost 4 years. And then on the anniversary, of course, the mainstream media, they spun it all up like it was the absolute worst. This is the part that cooked my noodle about that. They went hard after these people. Hard. And what just got me kind of spun around was the fact that we also, the reason why so many people were upset is we saw the video of them stuffing the ballot boxes. We saw the video of them putting the cardboard over the viewing windows so the election judges and observers couldn't see in. We saw that happen. We saw it. Yet they minimize the actual fraud and crime, and then they maximize this narrative around J6 to the point where you couldn't even mention it on social media or in the media unless you were anti J6. That's the level of lawfare this country went through. I think putting a price tag on that, I don't see a problem with it. Some folks do. Here, I'm going to read a couple of other comments. And it's like I said, I told Corey, I respect his point of view. I do, 100%. Tony says it's needed to combat the crap still going on and the incredible crap that happened, 100%. My good friend Mark David, John Evans, who was a bodybuilder. One of these days, we're going to get in the gym together. But he says, my understanding is most people who did not assault police officers or vandalize the Capitol got probation, a fine, and no jail time, which sounds about right. Now, see, I have a problem with that because that's not true. That's true if you are listening to the mainstream media. It's not true from actual accounts. My sympathy drops quickly for anyone vandalizing or assaulting police officers. So, not sure about the 1776 billion, but the avenue taken to get there is problematic. Trump sued the Treasury, and to be clear, he had cause, and the deal was struck by the DOJ. Both departments are part of the executive branch, which circumvents normal checks and balances. 2 policemen are suing to stop this, and I think they should. I don't think so. People like my good buddy, and he is a good friend. We don't always agree, me and Mark, and but he's decent. He's no Thomas Riley, so he's got that going for him. Problem I have with that is some of his facts aren't facts. Like there were tons of people there who did not vandalize anything, break anything, were not violent. But a lot of these people were instigated into violence by the police, the DC police that were there. There were people that were literally just standing there and were shot in the face with pepper ball spray. And on one of my past shows, I showed this, a guy with a pepper ball that went through his cheek, put a hole in his face, and he wasn't doing anything. And then Boylan, when that one cop appeared to be hitting her, the crowd got a little pissed off. And then you're sitting there and you're peacefully protesting, and then you have police officers firing tear gas in there and instigating. And then you can't discount the FBI informants that are whipping these people up also. Like there's a lot of factors here. A lot of factors. And then the fact that the pipe bomber, like these people wanted a big thing to happen. It didn't in large part. So they forced it to happen. Sandy says anyone who goes to jail under false allegations comes out with a payment. Correct me if I'm wrong. How is this any different? They were arrested, prosecuted, served jail time for a crime that didn't fit the narrative. Therefore, the SCOTUS overturned those convictions should they not be compensated. That's where I'm at right there. And there's a ton of comments here, but I'm not going to get through them all because I want to get through the show. Arlene says they cannot be allowed to write the history book on January 6th, and that's another big deal. I'm a student of history, and for a large portion of the history that is taught in our schools, it's not actual history. It is a narrative. And just an example, and I won't get way into the weeds on this, but I remember way back when. I forget the year, but I was new to North Dakota, and my buddy Chris Berg had me on because I wrote a forum article. I'm not a fan of Martin Luther King Jr. I think he was a garbage person. I think he plagiarized a ton of things. And I think he was given to us by liberals as, hey, this is the savior. This is and most black people at that time were not in line with this guy because they knew who he was. He was a cokehead. He was a serial philanderer, like not a good person. But our history books say different. And so I agree with Arlene. They cannot be allowed to write the history on J6 because it will be garbage. It will be theater. It will be propaganda at best. And with that, I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. My name is Leon Francis. This is BlackBeardLogic on the Guns of the 701 Network. When we come back, I'm going to talk about this next segment is going to be called Geske Gets It. And this is about Carissa Geske. And you know what? We're going to talk about it. That's what we're going to do. I'll be right back right after this break.
I am Leon Francis, host of BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Did you ever wonder why people run for public office? I didn't plan on running for Congress, but I got tired watching politicians go to Washington, promising North Dakotans the world, and delivering leftovers. I'm Alex Balaz, and I'm running to be your U.S. House Representative.
LAUER Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at LAUER Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with LAUER, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro-Second Amendment America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake.
Make no mistake.
LAUER Auto is your pro-Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at LAUER Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro-Second Amendment, pro-North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's LAUER Auto Repair, 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Come on, no!
Okay, let's go.
I am Leon Francis of BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Was at a critical juncture. Rising debt, unsupported first responders, and detrimental programs and services have become the norm. And people are feeling it. Higher costs, increases in crime, big decisions, not always enough transparency. I'm Michelle Turnberg, and I'm running for mayor in order to change that. We need to focus on public safety, affordability, clear communication, and core services, not niche special projects. It's time for a new approach. I'm ready to lead Fargo forward. Vote Michelle Turnberg for mayor on June 9th.
Remember that, Michelle Turnberg for mayor, June 9th. Also, this segment, I'm Leon Francis. This is Blackbeard Logic, Guns in the 701 Network. So, this is Carissa Geske. And this segment I've named Geske Gets It. It's catchy. I like it. And remember, again, in June, she is running for school board in Fargo. And I like the cut of her jib. I do. I was mildly irritated when I saw the people coming after her, calling her, Islamophobic and all of this other garbage. I am gonna, and I heard this, like the reporter that was questioning, her, well, all of the members. I didn't like the way he couched his questions, and to me, he wasn't very knowledgeable, but he wanted just this gotcha deal, and works for a conservative station. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all, and so on my social media, I put a post up, gave my 2 cents. It did really well, so I was glad to see a lot of folks saw the common sense, and she is young. That's why it blew me away that she was this intelligent and so poised. And the reasons that she gives for running is, I believe she said that she was in church and she asked some of the older women there, parents there, to run, and they were too busy. And then she takes it upon herself to do something about the Fargo school system. And even some facts that I didn't know, like the millions of dollars that we sink into the Fargo school system. And like, I'm just going to say 40% can't read at grade level or proficient at grade level. It was more, but it was like between 35 and 38%. But I'm just going to benefit of the doubt, 40%. And the amount of money, the millions of dollars that we are shoveling in, there is a problem. Again, there is a reason why me and the missus homeschool our kid, because we love him and we want him smart, and I want to teach him real American history. So in that order, and plus we are God-centered, a Christian forward. Our academics, my worldview is Christ forward, and then everything comes behind that. And I'm gonna play this, and you're gonna see one of the reasons that we decided to do this is exactly what she said. There is this belief of the separation of church and state that simply is not there, and I really, really wish our Supreme Court would take this on, just like the anchor baby thing, the birthright citizenship thing. Just like a lot of things, I believe that our Supreme Court, instead of just letting it roll over and roll over and roll over, needs to be addressed. But I'm going to digress. I'm going to let you hear it in her words, her own words. And I call this Geske
You said we have to investigate Islam, so what do you mean by that?
I didn't say investigate. I said we need to consider it as a board. It's something that debates are going on in the federal government about it. And in the West, we have benefited from what our founding principles were on, which is based out of this idea. So the Nuremberg trials displayed this thing of when a country goes wayward, what do we do if there is something that is just pure evil going on?
You're saying Islam is pure evil?
What I'm saying is the Nuremberg trials taught us that there is a moral law that we...
Now, do you hear that? Did you hear that? And I think this is Austin Erickson, a guy I thought I liked, but hearing him and I didn't see it, I heard it. And he sounded like this snotty little snooty soy boy to me, g trying to get these gotcha questions. All right, this is about 3 minutes. We're about a minute into it, so I'm gonna try to sit on my hands, but yeah, I'm gonna let it play out again.
Moral law that we have to recognize that supersedes the laws of the land, whatever country you live in. And so we have to be very careful because the education system is very complex. We deal with people who have so many different religions, and Christianity doesn't use coercion.
Well, why does religion even need to be part of a school board debate? Because there's a separation of church and state.
So
you hear the snobbiness in his voice? You hear the soy in that voice there? Good God.
I think that the separation of church and state is largely misunderstood. So the separation of church and state was obviously when we broke away from the UK, there was this thing where, well, they wanted to protect the church from the state. But I agree with you in the sense that we have to be very careful. Our teachers are teaching a moral code to our kids. And we have to ask the question, which I haven't heard asked, is what is that moral code coming from? Islam and Christianity cannot coexist. And here's why.
Can't coexist in our society?
So listen, so freedom of speech in America is so important.
Do you hear the shock in his voice? Oh my God. Islam cannot coexist? Of course not. Where have you been? Like, 2 seconds and we'll get back. I would have asked him, if Islam is so great, why are all of these Muslims coming to America and not to some Islamic country? Why are they all coming to, like, you look at England, same thing. Why are these people leaving a place that their religion dominates? It's majority. So their religion actually penalizes you if you are not a Muslim and you don't want to convert. And then some of them go further than that. You have to convert or you die. Or if they're trying to put their best foot forward to the Western world, well, they'll just relocate you. Like, you can't be here. You can be a Christian, but you can't be here. You know, so that sort of thing. How is that worldview compatible with us? It's not. But I'm going to let her finish, and then I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this thing.
And we were founded on arguably Christian principles, but Christianity doesn't use coercion to force people. So you can still get the facts of why Christianity is true, factually true, and there's evidence, historical evidence to prove that it is true. But Islam uses coercion, whereas Christianity does not. And we as the West really have to be careful with what we see is going on in the UK. The school board isn't talking about it, but this will be an issue that we face in the next 5, I would arguably say now, in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, for sure.
So what would you say to parents that are Muslims that are practicing Islam, and you're saying as a school board candidate what they're teaching their children is wrong?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say ask the Muslim parents what the Muslim leaders claim. The Muslim leaders claim that there's only 3 ways. Christianity and Islam are not the same. Christianity doesn't push coercion. Here are the facts you choose. Freedom of speech, freedom of choice. Islam says you submit or you don't, and here are the 3 things. Either you be penalized, there's penalty, and this is recognized by Muslim leaders. You're penalized, you're kicked out, or you're killed, and this is recognized by Muslim leaders. So I would ask Muslim parents, what are you teaching your children? Because you might be a professing Muslim, but you actually might be saying, do not lie, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet. So then are they really operating out of a Muslim worldview or not? And that is something that we need to address, because the West has benefited from the value of freedom of speech and freedom to choose.
100%. I didn't see a single thing wrong. But just like clockwork, all of the liberals and even some Republicans were all up in arms about this her answers, to the point that she had to give follow-up interviews to set the record straight. And I'm like, I wouldn't have. I would have looked at the transcript of what I said, and I'd have been like, all right, I'm good with that. Like, there's no, and again, the thing that really got me is how young she is, but obviously knowledgeable, obviously. And you don't get that. And I'm sorry if this sounds racist, but in a lot of young white women, you do not get this. You don't get it. Like, and okay, I'm gonna stop before I get myself in trouble. But so what she just said there is the thing that most gutless school board members are too terrified to admit. And here's I'm going to break this down, like what she actually said, without the usual corporate media spin. These are her key points. Western civilization has thrived because of its founding principles, rooted in a higher moral law. The Nuremberg trials prove this. When a government goes full evil, you don't hide behind, well, I was just following the law. There's a moral code above man's law. Where does that moral code come from? That's all she was saying. And she was being rushed. She had the little soy boy. What do you mean? What do you mean? And she's young. She probably felt like the tension. Like, oh my God, what is she saying? And then when she moved to the whole Islam and Christianity cannot coexist as governing worldviews, you heard the soy boy again say, what do you mean by that? My God. No. Our country was built on Christian principles. The Abrahamic law is our basically our code. It's in Black's law. The Abrahamic code. If you don't know what that is, that's just the 10 Commandments. That's our rock. What is Islam's? Christianity, like she said, does not coerce belief at the point of a sword. Islam does. Submit or face penalties, expulsion, or death. Muslim leaders say this plainly, loudly, and often, and in Western countries. They say this in their countries, and they say it in ours. And we're supposed to just turn a blind eye to that. Absolutely not. And I agree with her. The school board needs to stop ignoring this. I mean, she made the point. Look what is happening in the UK. They have no-go zones. They have grooming gangs. They have Sharia demands. Why would we should be grilling Muslim parents? Like, what are you teaching? This is what I would say. And if I were her, I would have probably couched it like this. You know, if you are here in America and you love America, how do you teach your kid Islam? Unless it's a progressive version of Islam, how do you do that without it butting heads like that Western ideology of liberty? That concept is not transferable. So what do you teach your kids if you're a Muslim parent? Why are you in a Western country? This is what I would ask. Why not be in a majority Islamic country where Islam is the dominant worldview? And you have to understand also that America was founded on I like to say divine providence. It is a Christian forward country. But our government doesn't run like that. Our government has its legal moorings. It's supposed to be Christian. I'm just going to throw that out there. But Islam is not just a religion. It is a governing structure. Ask the folks in Iran. Ask the folks in Iraq. She's right. It is incompatible. And we got to stop ignoring that. And here's something else. I know it sounds controversial, but that only proves how far we've fallen. Public schools are not neutral playgrounds for every ideology. They're not. They transmit values. And if you're pretending that Islam, with its doctrinal demand for submission, its merger of mosque and state, its track record wherever it gains numbers, which is bad, if you think that it is just another lovely faith tradition like Christianity, then you are willfully ignorant and you have not been paying attention. I mean, the left and some on the right love to scream about the separation of church and state like it's some kind of magic force field that erases reality. Newsflash, Chuckle Nut, that phrase is not in the Constitution. It was meant to stop the federal government from setting up official denominations, not scrub every trace of the Judeo-Christian root that built this country. The founders knew that religion and morality were essential to self-government. I mean, as a matter of fact, they said it. Our thing is only for a moral and just people. Again, Perry and I talked about this the other day. Early American schools taught from the Bible without an apology. And you know what they didn't have? They didn't have furries. In those early schoolhouses, they didn't have litter boxes for kids that thought they were cats. They didn't have unisex bathrooms for boys that felt pretty. They didn't do none of that. There weren't rainbow flags everywhere. They weren't teaching open communism, socialism. They weren't doing any of that because it was Christ-centered. Today we're supposed to act like importing millions of people from other cultures that never accepted individual liberty, conscious rights, or no compulsion to religion will magically work out. You know, you put enough rainbow stickers on it like that. And again, it blows my mind. Like little Austin Erickson, she should have asked him, well, you know, after when Biden was in office, they lit up the city hall there in Fargo in the rainbow colors. You know, is Islam okay with that? You know, I would ask, can we get an imam in here and have him like put a rainbow pin on his lapel? Can we do that right now? Can someone go and no. Nope. And again, she brought up Europe. The UK is a warning sign. A warning sign that's on fire right now. These are parallel societies. Yet their free speech has been crushed. Politicians are too cowardly to name the problem. They have rape gangs. You get put in jail like Tommy Robinson. He went to jail because he stood outside the courtroom and read the names of the offenders that had multiple offenses of preying on children and were getting slaps on the wrist and mosques popping up everywhere, to the point where if you were a white European, especially female, you were not safe to walk down the streets of England. Now, how in the hell do you allow your society to fall that far? How is that a thing? Geske, her challenge to Muslim parents is common sense, in my humble opinion. It's not hate. Plenty of decent Muslims live in the West, and they live decent lives by ignoring or softening the harsher parts of their faith. And that's good. But that's not operating out of a Muslim worldview. It's operating closer to natural law and the Ten Commandments. Our schools should not be afraid to point that out. They should be teaching kids what made the West worth living in. What made this country so great that Muslims come from Muslim lands to live here? That's not nothing. That's not nothing. There is objective truth here at one time. It's eroding. There's personal responsibility here. Was at one time. That's eroding. And there was the rejection of coercive theocracies. That's why those pilgrims got on those boats and sailed the ocean blue. That's the reason. And the last thing I'll say on this is it's not about hating the individual. It's about refusing to lie. Western civilization isn't a hotel where any belief system can check in. Sorry. Sometimes those rants go deep, man. Where any belief system can check in and demand renovation. Even though we're allowing that. And we are. If we keep pretending that all religions are interchangeable, we'll lose every bit of tolerance and freedom that lets us live as a diverse people here in the first place. Carissa Geske is saying the quiet part out loud. Either we defend our moral foundation in education, or we watch them be replaced. Just talk to the Brits. Now, I did post about this. Here, I'm going to bring up this old David here. And he says, in case you haven't noticed or watched the news today, today's Christianity, and specifically in evangelical Christianity, is using coercion and demands government enforcement. One must challenge every politician advocating returning the United States to God by asking what they mean. Oh, and that brings me to a really good aside. Here, give me 1 second. I want you guys to see this. So before all this happened, this happened here.
What about this passage from Mike Johnson declaring that our rights do not derive from government, they come from you, our Creator, and Heavenly Father? Is this him putting God over the Declaration of Independence?
Now, did you see the smugness in that idiot's face? Did you? So, Speaker Mike Johnson said the truth, and this has been true since the founding of this country. Here's the Declaration of Independence right here. They're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That whole thing. Laws of nature and of nature's God. Entitle them. That whole thing. That's what he said. He basically quoted the Declaration of Independence. And then in her smugness, here, let's go back to this. In her smugness.
Him putting God over the Declaration of Independence?
Look at that smug, she just knows she just made a brilliant point. Brilliant point. But that made me think about,
Okay.
just so we're clear, according to the Declaration, the ultimate source of rights is not the government or the will of the people, but God. But and so I made that about a week ago, I think, when I saw that. Uh, but then you had David here, and as you can see, he has that same mindset. One must challenge every politician advocating returning the United States to God by asking what they mean. Do they mean a return to our colonial days of the 17th and 18th centuries, where attendance at a specific church was mandatory? Will taxpayers be required to support that designated Christian church? Does that mean we'll have a Christian form of Sharia with biblical laws and sanctions like the book of Leviticus? Do they like? Apparently, he's not a Christian because he does not understand the closing of the Old Testament with the blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand that. So he's not a Christian, this David Vail guy. Do they believe Americans should not be free to choose? Are they explicitly stating they no longer will hold their oaths of office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, which is undergirded by a Judeo-Christian foundation, chuckle nut? And so I'm not going to read the rest of his dribble. What I am going to do is my answer. This was my answer to him. I'm like, this isn't even a serious argument. To equate Christians wanting basic moral sanctity and law with Islamic theocracy and then cry Christian Sharia. Like, it's a lazy, dishonest argument. And it ignores history. It ignores doctrine. And it ignores reality. First, there's no serious evangelical or Republican politician calling for a mandatory church attendance. Even though, to be honest, we could all use a little Jesus. I mean, I don't know if you've been on college campuses lately, and Charlie Kirk was the best at this. Like, if you want to see what Christian masculinity looks like, it was that guy, because that guy did things that folks like me, I just don't have the patience. I don't have the patience. Like, you got some pink-haired, patchouli-smelling, hippie liberal screaming about shouting her abortion. And, like, my first inclination is, like, that's demonic. Give me 3 feet. I don't want anything to do with you. But Charlie Kirk was like, hey, let's talk about it. Yep. He was the best of us. And he tried to talk it out. So I'm not going to go there now because I'm just going to get on a rant. I'm not going to do it. So David's argument and that Turley chick's argument, they're not really arguments. It's a straw man argument at best. Returning America to God means restoring the Judeo-Christian moral framework that built this country. That's all it means. Things like recognizing objective truth. I am a boy. I know that because here, I'll look down quick. Yep, I'm a boy. That's truth. Protecting life. Preserving the nuclear family. Rejecting government as a moral enforcer of every progressive fetish. The founders quoted scripture and natural law constantly. They didn't establish a national church precisely because Christianity, unlike Islam, allows for it. England did not. That dude thought he was God. Jesus said, render unto Caesar. And the New Testament envisions the church as a distinct kingdom, not a caliphate. And there are core doctrinal differences between Christianity and Islam. Christianity's core text emphasizes voluntary faith and persuasion. Islam's foundational text and history merge religion and state. Din wa dawala. Submit isn't a metaphor. That's why Christian majority nations produce liberal democracies with religious freedom, while Muslim majorities constantly rank at the bottom of every religious liberty index. And pointing that out is not bigotry. It's just pattern recognition. I talk about this a lot. Geske is right. The worldviews are incompatible at the governing level. One produced the First Amendment, the other produces blasphemy laws and apostasy penalties, honor killings, and the diminution of women's worth and rights. Today's real coercion, if you want to know, comes from the secular left. Drag queen story hours in schools, biological males in girls' sports and their locker rooms, firing people for misgendering, labeling traditional Christianity as hate speech, and using government power to punish bakers and photographers and counselors who dissent. Evangelicals are not forcing conversions. They're pushing back against your side's state religion of gender ideology and pride. Variations in Christianity, yeah. But the Bible isn't a suicide pact for cultural relativism. Voters have every right to elect a leader who reflects the moral consensus that made America exceptional. Life, liberty, rule of law, rooted in all men are created equal by their Creator. The Constitution doesn't require moral neutrality or pretend that all belief systems produce the same results, because it doesn't. The Bible, our Constitution forbids a established national church. That's it. Politicians can advocate policies informed by faith, just like our civil rights leaders and abolitionists and the founders did. Asking which religion is more right is exactly what every society does and should do. The alternative is not enlightened pluralism. It is the slow replacement of Western liberty with whatever fills this vacuum. Look at Europe. Look at the integration failures in Europe. If you want the preview to what Austin Erickson apparently has in his chuckle nut head, that's the preview. Look at Europe. And Christians like Carissa advocating for a moral culture is not violating their oath to the Constitution. They're fulfilling the duty of citizens in a republic. The people demanding that we surrender our foundational principles to avoid theocracy are the ones that are eroding the very system that protects dissent. So I told David, nice try at the false equivalence, but the facts don't care about your fear-mongering. And that's about all of that I could take. You know the thing? Yeah, Brian. Hey, my brother's on. He's probably going to text me later. We're going to have a nice little chat. Anyway, that is, I'm going to wrap up that section of Geske Gets It. And when we come back, we're going to go into Let 'Em Cook. I saw a couple of videos that I thought were pretty good. The type of thing that you just want to sit back and just let them cook. Mic drop at the end, walk off the stage, you're good. We'll be right back. I'm Leon Francis. This is BlackBeardLogic on the Guns of the 701 Network. We'll be right back right after this break.
Okay, let's go.
I am Leon Francis of BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Anvil Brand LLC, raising and training tomorrow's barrel horses right out of Bismarck, North Dakota. Tracy and her family are great American patriots who not only support the Second Amendment, but they also promoted what you're looking for, top quality barrel horses. Go ahead and give Tracy a call at 701-471-6629 and tell them Guns and 701.com sent you. That's Anvil Brand LLC out of Bismarck, North Dakota.
At Horton Laser Craft, we believe in the power of personalization. Whether it's a cherished memory, a special occasion, or a unique gift, our custom laser engraving brings your vision to life. Our expert craftsmen and state-of-the-art technology ensure every piece is a work of art. From personalized decor to one-of-a-kind keepsakes, Horton Lasercraft makes every moment unforgettable. Visit HortonLasercraft.com today and start crafting your perfect gift. For more info, email them at HortonLasercraft@yahoo.com or call them up at 605-545-7535. Horton Lasercraft, where memories are engraved.
T-shirts tucked in, know my worth, can't tell me nothing. White Nikes, albino, can cop my stilo, head to the top, bottom line is a motto.
Welcome back. It's Leon Francis with BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Let's get it indeed. Yeah, we're going to dig into this Let Them Cook. I like this this segment. Because there's sometimes you see a video, and I've been following Miss Jackson for quite some time. Common sense, straight out of the heart of Chicago. She's not conventional, and she speaks like the very strong and empowered women that I grew up with in the South. Angela, so enjoy your common sense and honesty. Thanks, man. Thanks, Angela. But so, Miss Jackson, if you haven't heard her, I will start posting on my social media, snippets from her. But she has, for a long time, seen through the hypocrisy of the BS that the Democrats have been shoveling down the throats of black folks for some time. So I love the way she approaches the thing. It's fire. And again, to why I say, let them cook. Here we go.
The reality is this. Black people's voting is not in danger, and you know it's not. And you know it's not. I'm 63 years old. I've been voting since I was 18. I have never had a problem voting. Now that may apply to my mother and father. It applies to my grandparents. Surely it does. Sitting up here manipulating the Voting Rights Act like something's getting ready to happen to our right to vote, when you know that's not true. So now you all gonna drag black people in here, definitely some senior citizens, and gonna have them come up here and talk about how they scared to vote. How this messed up their right to vote. Women need to vote. All that junk. when you know it's not true. Just like you sit up here and make like black people can't get IDs. Us requiring IDs to vote. It's gonna stop black people from voting. Why black people ain't got IDs?
Yep.
See, you all get more and more ridiculous. But you can't, in this room full of these black people, talk about that federal case that just got filed Monday that's talking about how you all are stealing property at Cook County sales. Where the black people in here? Raise your hand that if they told you to come in here to talk about how your property got stolen. Where you at? Huh? Because we got commissioners in here that know for a fact it's happening. Come on, y'all black people that they done sent here with these 501c3s, that they got y'all in here talking for them. Why y'all ain't in here talking about how they stealing our property? 1 minute. Where y'all at? Come on, because y'all getting ready to come up here to this mic and lie for the cameras to say that black people's voting is done by this Louisiana thing and Donald Trump and the Trump administration, when Donald Trump is in front of the Supreme Court right now fighting for the 14th Amendment. That amendment was for black people. 30 seconds. Not for birthrights, not for people to anchor themselves over here illegally. And they got y'all black people in here getting ready to talk against him. I mean, y'all real sick up in the head. You sick in the head and more sicker in your spirit. This is insane.
Let Miss Jackson cook. Yo. there was so much common sense in that little sound bite. Like, it defies logic. Like, things that we know to be true. Like the whole gerrymandering thing that everybody's all wee-weed up. The fact that you can fool enough people into believing that somehow this is taking away the rights of black people to vote, and the way the Democrats have made Trump into this bigot. And just like she said, he's in their fight. The Democrats are using a thing that was to ensure that the children of the former slaves, what Democrats were attempting to do back then was say, well, they're not citizens. So they can't vote. That's what they were attempting to do, the Democrats. And the Republicans said, no, that's not a thing. And then they wrote this amendment to put it in. Again, if this is your first time here, Democrats have been doing Democrat things for a long, long time. And by next Let Them Cook, we're going to enumerate those things. Picture this. Senate hearing room, tension is thick in the air. Senator Mazie Hirono leaves. And just a quick aside, the fact that people like Mazie Hirono, people voted for this person, makes me question allowing everybody to vote. Like, some people should not vote, especially when you vote for people like this. But Mazie Hirono is such an idiot, she leans into her idiocy. And she snaps at Ted Cruz. And she says something to the effect of, you're not the smartest person in the room. Stop lecturing me about racial discrimination. But Ted Cruz, in Ted Cruz fashion, he doesn't flinch. He does what he does best. He cooks. And then with surgical precision, he lays out the Democrat Party's actual track record. Poll taxes, literacy tests, the founding of the KKK, Jim Crow laws, all that's Democrat. Then he flips the script. Well, you know what? I'm gonna digress, and I'm just gonna let you hear him. I'm gonna let you hear him cook for a second. Here we go.
Just a moment ago, our colleague Senator Hirono said there's a lot more to say, and indeed she's right. And in fact, I want to go back to her comments. She began by saying we have a long history of racial discrimination in this country. That's undoubtedly correct. And then she said, quote, we had poll taxes, we had literacy tests, we even had tests of how many jelly beans are in a jar. Mr. Chamberlain, when Senator Hirono says we had poll taxes, I want to ask you who we is, and in particular, what party was it that implemented poll taxes in the South?
I'm pretty confident it was mostly the Democrats.
And what party was it that put literacy tests in place in the South?
The same answer, mostly the Democrats.
And what party was it that had tests like how many jelly beans are in a bottle?
The Democrats.
Tell me, what party were the founders of the Ku Klux Klan from?
I'm pretty sure that was the Democrats.
Indeed. In fact, Nathan Bedford Forrest, the founder of the Klan, was a delegate to the 1860 Democrat National Convention. What party wrote the Jim Crow laws in the South?
The Democrats.
And so on this side of the aisle were members of the Republican Party. Who was the first Republican president?
Abraham Lincoln.
The Republican Party was literally founded to oppose slavery. We came into existence because slavery was a grotesque evil, and it was President Lincoln, the first Republican president, who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, who won the Civil War, and that resulted in the freeing of the slaves and the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. By the way, fast forward to the Civil Rights era. Bull Connor, one of the most noxiously racist politicians, what party was he from?
He was a Democrat.
The Democrats, for the entire history of their party, have been a party based on racial discrimination. They affirmatively embrace it. They support it. Let me ask you, Mr. Grime, is discriminating based on race consistent with the United States Constitution?
No.
What does the 14th Amendment say about discrimination based on race?
It's prohibited.
What does the 15th Amendment say about discriminating based on race, and in particular drawing congressional lines and explicitly discriminating based on race?
It's prohibited.
Now, the Democrats are fond of telling this story that is, and I wish I could find a kinder way to say it, a flat-out lie. That without discriminating based on race, that no African Americans will be elected and no Hispanics will be elected. Indeed, there was one fellow online who was a vocal left-wing spokesperson who tweeted out, "If I'm advising anybody to run for president, they sure as hell better have a solution to how you make sure that it's not another 100 years before another black person can represent South Carolina." So that's a typical Democrat statement, that we cannot elect a black person in South Carolina without discriminating based on race. I want to ask you, Mr. Chamberlain, who is the junior senator from South Carolina right now?
That would be Tim Scott.
And, all right, I'll tell you what I said online. I said, hey, Grok, who is Tim Scott? And why do Democrats think he isn't black? And by the way, was Tim Scott elected because of a gerrymandered district drawn only to elect an African American?
No, he won statewide.
He won statewide. By the way, the Democrat position is you can only elect African Americans with a gerrymandered district. I will point out Burgess Owens, an African American, is elected in a majority white district in the state of Utah. He's a Republican. Byron Donalds, another African American, is elected in a majority white district in Florida. He is a Republican. John James, another African American, is elected in a majority white district in Michigan. He is a Republican. And my own congressman, Wesley Hunt, who represents me in the House of Representatives, he is elected in a majority white district. He is a Republican. And yet in the Democrats' world, you're not black if you're not a liberal Democrat. There is an arrogance to African American voters. By the way, they also have that same arrogance to Hispanic voters. They say you're not Hispanic if you're not a liberal Democrat. Well, I'll tell you, I am proud to be the first Hispanic ever elected to represent the state of Texas in the United States Senate. And Mr. Chamberlain, in my election in Texas, was I elected in the gerrymandered district that could only elect an Hispanic?
No, you were elected statewide.
Discrimination based on race is wrong. Final question. The Democrats are now clutching their pearls that seats drawn to elect liberal Democrats in the South are going to go away. You may get black Republicans instead. Indeed, in Tennessee, they're freaking out that a liberal white guy who's a Democrat is likely going to lose his seat to an African-American woman who's a Republican, and they say that's horrible racial oppression. My final question is this. If you look nationwide, which party has egregiously abused gerrymandering for decades? Both parties are guilty of it, but who has been the worst offender? And in particular, take New England, take Massachusetts, take Connecticut, take Rhode Island, take Maine, take Vermont, take New Hampshire. How many Republicans are elected from all of New England in the House of Representatives?
I think the answer to that is 0.
0. They've drawn every district in a naked gerrymander, and yet they're very upset that their illegal pursuit of power has now been stopped by the Supreme Court that is enforcing the Constitution and prohibiting the racial gerrymandering discrimination their party is built on.
100%. And again, if you have kids, if you have liberal friends, and they tell you idiotic things like Mazie Hirono and AOC and all of these, and you'll notice it's mostly these loud, harpy-like women, liberal women, that are screaming about, the whole gerrymandering. And I thought I had a picture of the map of Louisiana. It is like, it blows your mind. If you watch the Due North Political podcast, the last one, Perry had it up there, and we talked about it. It is basically, guys, this is what they're mad about right here. Like, I don't know if you can see old Trump over there. You see him? He's doing his thing, and all those gerrymandered districts. Okay, there it is. We can see it here a little bit there. Let's see. Go back, Trump. So, if you look here at Louisiana, do you see the way they drew that district? Like, there's no rhyme or reason. The only way this district makes sense is it was drawn to encompass the biggest amount of black people, which is illegal. Like, it's so illegal. Same thing with Mississippi and Alabama and like Ted Cruz mentioned, like all those northern states. When you draw a district specifically with race at the root, it is illegal. And it's like I told Perry, I didn't know that this was a thing. Like, and I consider myself a politically, astute guy. I had no idea that these idiots have been doing this for quite some time. Like, they're always screaming about Jim Crow 2.0, and this is literally the thing we fought a war. You can't discriminate based on race, and they drew whole entire districts based just on that. And here's the truth about this fresh wave of outrage over the Supreme Court's redistricting rule. Democrats don't actually care about the maps. They don't care about compact districts or neutral rules. What they want to guarantee is black seats, but only a specific type of black seat. The kind that keeps that victim narrative locked in place. The kind that never challenges the grievance machine. They want the type of representative that tells black Americans every single day that you are still oppressed, the system is still rigged, the white man's got his foot on your neck, and only we, the Democrats, can save you. Like, they're not marching for black conservatives. They're not rallying behind someone like Winsome Sears. She's sharp, accomplished, unapologetic black woman who actually represent real upward mobility. Here, hang on. I'm going to show you something else here. This is the NAACP. Now, I want you to look at something. And Winsome Sears is a Second Amendment supporting military. They hate her. Like, the NAACP hates her. Tamika Hamilton, they hate her. Charlotte Bergman, they hate her. Now, the NAACP is supporting the folks on the bottom over the black folks at the top there. The NAACP NAACP, the National Advancement of Color for Colored People. Those folks. They are supporting the folks on the bottom. The advancement of colored people supports all the white liberals and none of the black conservatives. It's like I said last week. It's all a grift. Like, it didn't surprise me that the Southern Poverty Law Center was out there funding bigotry in order to point and say, look, there's bigotry. We have to fight that. And then their coffers like expanded by millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. I think it doubled. And they're funding like Unite the Right and what was it? The J6 and whatever that Charlottesville thing. They funded these people. Like they hollowed out the shell of a thing that used to have a purpose. And now that thing's purpose is to get money and keep us divided. That's all it is. Like you can't be a black person. You can't be a black leader. You can't be sharp and accomplished and unapologetically black. You can't be like me. Like, I love black people. I am one. My mom was one. My daddy's one. You know, my grandma. And like all those people up there, except, you know, my wife. But all those people, they're black. I look up to them. They shaped who I am. I love black people. But I also love white people. I love Americans. I love Christians. So you can't pigeonhole people like me. You'll never hear me telling another black person, oh, the white man's got his foot on our neck. White man's keeping us down. You'll never hear me do that. So Democrats have no use for me. They hate me. They're afraid of me. And that's what's going on here in this picture. Like they're not marching for black conservatives. They recoil from any black leader who refuses to perform the approved script. Like, you can't just be black. You have to be their kind of black. And that sounds a little bigoted to me. I'm just going to say it. You got to sound like the hood, yo. You got to sound like the streets. You got to keep that outrage fresh. Never step outside of that assigned role. Sounds a little bit like a plantation or a ghetto to me. I just like King of Sparta, King Leonidas. My knee just don't bow like that. It don't bend that way. I'm sorry, you know. Let's ask the uncomfortable question everyone's pretending to ignore. How come removing race-based voting districts only seems to devastate black representation? Why is that a thing? Why not any other non-white group? Why is the only demographic that apparently cannot win seats without the government drawing racially engineered maps around them are black? That single fact should tell you everything that you need to know about all of the fake outrage. Real representation isn't a racial quota. I'm sorry to break that to you. Real representation is black excellence, showing up in every arena of American life without apology, without permanent victimhood. And that's another thing. Like, I'm going to go off on a tangent, and I know I'm going to try to keep it brief. It's the reason I don't agree with DEI. It's the reason I don't agree with what's that policy where there's a quota for black people. I'll think of equal opportunity or whatever it is. It's why I don't agree with that. It dilutes black excellence. I mean, there are black men and women out there that are brilliant. You'll never know it because they're not going to be highlighted by the Democrats, the mainstream media. Like they gave us that idiot down in Texas. What's her name? Who code switches? She talks like she's from the hood and she went to a prep school and all of that. But she thought, well, she knows that this is what they want. Affirmative action. Yeah, Larry. Hey, that's a name I haven't seen before. Hey, Larry. That's it. Affirmative action. I don't agree with that. I don't. Like, if it was up to them, when they crank up this hysteria, oh, Jim Crow's back. What am I supposed to do? Open my front door like it's 1963 again? You know? If I open my front door because of this Supreme Court ruling, do I suddenly have fewer rights? Should I start humming an old Negro spiritual and set out on my way? It's my God. It upsets me. It upsets me because I know better. I know what black excellence really is. Like I've interviewed Larry Elder. I've interviewed tons of brilliant black men and women. They all happen to be conservatives or Republicans, and all of them were Christian. So that's the through line. But how many times have you seen someone like Larry Elder on MS Now or MSNBC or CNN or no? They want the folks that appreciate the plantation that liberals have gifted them. That's what they want. Larry, highly on first time here. Oh, good deal. I like that. Yeah, we're a little spicy here, buddy. just so you understand. And then I look at this here. You got Abigail Spamberger, Amy Berry, Steve Cohen. None of them black, not according to NAACP. And well, according to NAACP, the folks at the top are not black. The Republicans aren't, because they're not going to endorse those guys. Let that sink in. The National Association for Advancement of Colored People, the organization that claims to champion black progress, they choose party loyalty over what their mission statement should be. They even sent out a missive to black athletes saying not to go to these southern schools, to boycott them, because again, the Supreme Court said you can't use race to engineer districts. That's what they said. You can't discriminate. They told the Democrats what we've been telling the Democrats since the beginning of this thing. Stop discriminating. That's what they said that's what the Supreme Court said to Democrats. Once again, they told them that with the Jim Crow thing. They told them that with the Civil War. They told them that with the separate but equal. We've been telling Democrats to stop doing this crap since the beginning of the country. And yet again, the Supreme Court has to do this again. Stop discriminating. And now everybody's butt hurt and wee-weed up. Winsome Earls, I've been following her for quite some time. Her entire platform is school choice, safe streets, economic opportunity that actually lifts people up instead of trapping them in dependency. Tamika Hamilton and Charlotte, same story. And the thing that makes me happy is they represent a growing movement of black Americans who are waking up to the fact that the same promises from the same party for 60 plus years delivered crumbling cities, failing schools, and broken families. Heaven forbid the NAACP acknowledge that. The primary reason I am a conservative is because I saw what Democrat policies do to a community on the micro growing up. It's sad. It's a betrayal of black folks. For decades, they've wrapped themselves in the language of civil rights while functioning as a Democrat super PAC with a fancy name. They don't advance colored people. They advance colored people who vote the right way. Everyone else, you're a sellout. You're an Uncle Tom. You're a coon. That's the playbook. I know this playbook because I've had that playbook used on me. But the tide is turning. More and more black voices are rejecting this plantation politics. I think of my buddy Royce White. And I'm like, that's a damn good dude. Stands up, chucks his chin, takes the hits. Larry Elder. Been doing it a long, long time. Tide's turning. Tons of people are rejecting the garbage that Democrats have been selling. It's why they have to do underhanded things like this. It's why they had to flood the country with illegals. Because more and more minorities are waking up to their BS. That's why. Like Trump got the largest portion of black males in like recorded history. I mean, pre the time when most black people voted Republican, before Martin Luther King. And that's another story in itself. I don't know how many people know that. Like pre-MLK, black folks voted Republican. Because, again, if you listen to Ted Cruz, he went through the history of the Democrats. And it's all bad. Like every bit of it is bad. And not just bad, demonically bad. I look at our communities. And folks like me, I see past the rhetoric. I see past the grievance. I see past the greed. The equality of outcomes I know is BS. I look at the communities that I grew up in, high crime, low graduation rate, fatherless homes. And never once am I supposed to ask myself, wait a minute. You guys come around here like once every 4 years and you shake your little cup and you ask for donations and nothing's getting any better. Like, and I'm supposed to still... No, I'm sorry. NAACP, your mask is off. It has been for me for some time. I know you're not a civil rights group. You're a partisan grift operation. And you abandon the very people you claim to serve the moment they step off that Democrat reservation. But we've been watching. Black America is waking up. History will remember who stood for principles and then who sold their souls out for power. And with that, I'm going to hit a commercial break, the last one, and we're going to come back. And my buddy Perry Schumacher had on Beck Studio. Beck Communications. He has a show, And one segment of his show is called Perry's Perspective. And I want to share his latest one here because I 100% agree with it. And I want to see if you guys and gals agree with Perry's perspective. So, BlackBeardLogic, Leon Francis, Guns in the 701. We'll be right back right after this break.
LAUER Auto Repair, located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Give them a call at 701-258-6308.
The team of mechanics at LAUER Auto can take care of any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with LAUER, you can be assured you're doing business with a pro-Second Amendment, America First repair shop. There are plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But why take a chance at patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake.
Make no mistake.
LAUER Auto is your pro-Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at LAUER Auto, don't forget to tell them that you heard they are a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our pro-Second Amendment, pro-North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's LAUER Auto Repair, 701-258-6308.
701-258-6308.
Located 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota.
When you want it done right,
Go where lemons go.
Kalen's Auto Service, owned and operated by Kalen and Misty Foss, lifelong locals with over 25 years experience. From modern rides to classic restorations, they can handle it all. Top quality work, fair price, and honest hometown values. Located just one block south of Highway 12 on 6th Avenue West in Lemon. Kalen's Auto Service, serving you with all your auto repair needs.
For the best gun gear for every and any situation, Little Angry Man Arms LLC has you covered. Top-notch guns from top-name brands like Winchester, Glock, Sig Sauer, and Ruger to essential extras from Magpul, Streamlight, Hollow, Sun Optics, and more. Little Angry Man Arms LLC have everything to make your shooting adventures a success. Visit littleangrymanarms.com today and gear up for your next big hunt, competition, or home defense. Don't miss out on our exclusive deals. Little Angry Man Arms LLC, based in Trail City, South Dakota, your ultimate hunting partner.
At Horton Laser Craft, we believe in the power of personalization. Whether it's a cherished memory, a special occasion, or a unique gift, our custom laser engraving brings your vision to life. Our expert craftsmen and state-of-the-art technology ensure every piece is a work of art. From personalized decor to one-of-a-kind keepsakes, Horton Lasercraft makes every moment unforgettable. Horton Lasercraft is owned and operated by a local veteran and his wife located near Thunderhawk, South Dakota. They provide custom laser products at a reasonable price, and their turnaround time is fast and efficient.
Custom board cutting, glassware, decanter sets, mugs, assorted stainless steel jewelry, assorted tags, decor, custom acrylic nightlights, and much, much more.
Call them up at 605-545-7535. Horton Lasercraft, where memories are engraved.
Welcome to BlackBeardLogic on the Guns and the 701 Network. Let's get it.
Welcome back. We're going to wrap the show up with Perry's perspective. So I watched it. I agree with every word. I want to see if you guys agree with it also. I mean, I think he nails it. His Andy Griffin analogy is spot on. The Barney Fife analogy is spot on. And you'll see, I'm going to play it. You'll see, I'm a movement guy. He said something to me the other day. And it really hit home. Like I've known Perry like way back in the Tea Party days when it was the North Dakota Tea Party caucus. And he said to me, that he's known me all that time and I never change. Like what I say today, I said the same thing way back when. And Mike Machenbacher also. Like we never change. Like I know people that were in the Tea Party movement that absolutely did change. Like their messages on life, on fiscal conservatism, on like pretty much everything. And I'm going to say this, probably going to get in a little trouble, but you know, that's par for the course. I knew a person. I'm not even going to put the gender out there, so it'll keep it obscure. Back in my Tea Party days, and this person was like, I thought, 100% pro-life, down like 4 flats, as we say in the hood. Like I'm from the hood, you know. But and at the not this convention, but the convention before, I was there, and these people, and this person in particular, were speaking against some pro-life legislation because they thought it was too harsh. And I'm a pro-life guy. I don't believe in pro-life except for, in my humble opinion, we're killing kids or we're not. And I thought that's where this person was. But so many of our compatriots are not movement people. They're industry people. They go where the grift takes them. They're they're rhinos. And when it suits them, they put that R on. But I'm not going to ruin Perry's perspective. I'm going to run Perry's perspective. And then we'll wrap the show up after this. Here we go.
Good evening. Welcome to Open Range. I'm Perry Schumacher. Many of you maybe are too young to have watched the Andy Griffith Show. Others near my age can vividly remember watching it. It was a very popular show when I grew up. Andy Griffith played the character Andy Taylor, a local folksy sheriff. His sidekick was a guy named Barney Fife. Occasionally, Barney would have to step in for Andy as the man in charge, but let's just say he didn't carry the gravitas that Andy did. Everyone but Barney knew the job was too big for him. Last week, North Dakota's Barney Fife got to play sheriff. Our Governor Armstrong threw his money around to support various candidates like the well-known ultra-conservative Judy Lee. The governor is hard at work trying to prop up Republicans who skipped the endorsing conventions around the state, but would still be allies for his agenda. I have stated several times in the past, for far too many, conservatism is an industry, not a movement. Me and Brandon are movement guys. I'm a movement guy, meaning I actually mean it when I say it, and I want conservative governance and think the country would be better off because of it. Those who are not movement types are those who use the brand conservative to help get elected or fill their pockets pretending to be conservative pontificators. They are political grifters. Here is the exact grift. Drape yourself in the conservative cloak to get elected or garner an audience. For those who get elected, they then govern to their true worldview, which is anything but conservative. But because now odds are extremely, extremely low as an incumbent, they will ever lose again. They then go about enriching themselves while every election cycle to drape themselves in the cloak that only gets worn around election time. It is now the grandest of American hustles. The tell in our Fife's fakery is calling people like Lee of West Fargo or Axman of Bismarck allies in the conservative of our state. Kelly Armstrong is just another in a long line of conservative hustlers. Every red state is full of them. How you can tell is compare them to someone like Ron DeSantis. He actually governs like and movement conservatives. Another way to tell is that a grifter will call the actual conservative a radical. There's one type of person who does not lie about being conservative, an actual conservative. For the industry types, it is just playing dress up because they view most of their constituents as chumps. It is often said something happens to people we elect when they get to DC. That is not correct. The grift started long before, right here at home. If we see such deception like this at the state level, why would we expect it to be any different in Washington? If you want to change Washington, it starts with being intentional with our choices back home by rejecting the grift. Vote the opposite of every grifter's endorsement. Vote for the actual conservative. Brandon, that was Perry's perspective.
Now, obviously I edited that for time. You should go to Perry's social media, Perry Schumacher. Go to his social media page, watch his videos. They're really good. And you can every other Tuesday, I'm on there with Perry and Ryan and Mike, and we do the Due North Political Podcast. I thought I had a hat back there, but I don't see it. Well, after I watched that, I agreed with every word. Perry pretty much nails it, comparing Governor Armstrong to Barney Fife trying to play sheriff. We got a governor here in North Dakota throwing his money behind candidates who skipped the Republican endorsing convention, and he's propping up the establishment allies instead of the grassroots. That's not leadership. That's exactly what Perry said it was. That's machine politics in conservative clothing. What really hits home is Perry's distinction between conservatism as a movement versus an industry. Like, I'm a movement guy. I said that before. I actually believe in limited government. I actually believe in individual liberty and real conservative governance. I actually, well, I'll digress. I'll say this. Too many politicians wear the conservative cloak every election cycle, and then they govern like moderates. They veto bills to protect kids from explicit content in public libraries, like Armstrong did. Drawing censor from the NDGOP. They drag their feet on aggressive property tax relief while protecting the status quo and their insider connections in the energy sector. And you can spot the grifters a mile away, just like Perry said. They call real conservative radicals. Like, I'm considered a radical, while they cozy up to the establishment. And then you look at a real leader like Ron DeSantis. He governed on principle. He fought woke indoctrination, secure borders, cutting regulations. And like Perry said, and I kind of went out, and I think he did too, I kind of went out to Florida. I'm going to bring it back to North Dakota, because we tend to think that our problems start in Washington. They don't. They start right here in North Dakota. If we keep falling for the same recycled endorsement and the whole insider game, nothing in DC will ever change. It's why nothing in DC has ever changed. We're a deep red state, right? Until you think about it. So this is my take on Perry's perspective. We need to be intentional. We need to reject the grifter's playbook like I rejected the Democrats' playbook. We have to support the candidates who earn the movement's endorsement at the conventions. You got to vote for real conservatives who deliver on issues like school choice, like tax cuts, like protecting our values. Not the ones that are just playing dress up. Democrats that feel sexy in red. I thank Perry for keeping it real and telling it like it is. And I'm going to end the show with this. Here in North Dakota, in June in particular, so I'm talking to the Fargo folks, we got some, and again, I don't have a dog in this fight because I live out in the middle of nowhere. I don't live in Fargo anymore. But if you do, and you want Fargo to not be $1.37 billion in the hole, to not have a reading proficiency of between 35 and 38%, yet you're still shoveling millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into that failed system. You got to get off your arse. You got to get out there and you got to vote for the conservative candidate. If you don't know who the conservative candidate is, go to Fargo First. And I really should have put their social media up here. I really should have done that. I'll do that on my social media. But Fargo First is a very good resource for that. Keep your ear to the ground. Be a movement conservative. Don't be an industry dupe. Industry chump. We got a country to save. And in North Dakota, we got a state to save. The rhinos are running roughshod. And we got to do something about it. Leon Francis, BlackBeardLogic, Guns in the 701. God bless. Good night. And remember, this Memorial Day weekend, it can be fun, but remember the reason for the season. Pray for those Gold Star families out there. Thank God for all of the veterans out there. All of the folks that fought and died to keep this little piece of land here free. Keep those guys in your prayers. Because if we forget that, we forget the reason that we can live out in the middle of nowhere with our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights, our Fourth Amendment protections, all of the things. We wouldn't have those. And it's like I said, all those names on those monuments, it's more than history. It's receipts. And it paid for the things that you and I enjoy. So again, God bless. Good night. Have a blessed Memorial weekend.